So today I am gonna create a really nice application. So I am gonna clone this Twitter app, but the catch here is the front end will be in React, but I'm gonna use Ethereum blockchain for my backend. That's right. So all the tweets that we currently post on Twitter will go and be stored on the Ethereum blockchain. So there will be a block created for each tweet. And to view that tweet, we'll obviously use Solidity methods. So I'll be going over this whole video in detail. It's gonna be a very long video for sure, maybe 2-3 hours. I don't know. Let's see, because I'll be coding everything from scratch. um, and before going forward, let's go and do a requirements gathering. So what all we need. So we are going to develop a Twitter clone. Let me add using React and Solidity. Okay. Now the first thing we need is MetaMask. So MetaMask is basically a wallet where your Ethereum Ether coins are stored, right? Because for every action, we might need to pay some gas fees. It will be very cheap, but in order to create a new block on Ethereum blockchain, we will need to pay some Ether, right? So for that, we need a wallet where we have all the Ethereum stored. So we need MetaMask for that. It's our wallet. You can actually go ahead and Google MetaMask and it will take you here. You go there and then it will give you a download button. This is an extension. It will go over some steps to install, like you will need to create your account, um, save your password somewhere, and then once the login sign up is done, you will see something like this, right? And you will see a lot of networks. So Ethereum mainnet is the main Ethereum network. Similarly, we have other test networks. In my case, I am using Rinkeby test network. It's a Ethereum test network. So before deploying your application, you need to test it that okay, it works fine, right? Because you don't want to pay the real money until and unless it works fine. So that's why we have a test network for that. So we need MetaMask. The second thing we need is Alchemy. So in order to interact with the blockchain, we need Alchemy. So Alchemy is a website. It basically gives us API. So it gives us Ethereum based API. So you just need to create an account here. For me, it was already created. So just create an account here for now, and once you log in, you will see a screen like this dashboard. Click on a plus sign, create a new application. You can name it anything, Twitter clone or anything like that. um, you can select, I would say, Rinkeby. Let me actually show it to you. So let's log in. Let me get my credentials. I don't remember. Okay, so my email would be okay. So what happens here is we see a screen, right? We see dashboard. You go to app. You can do a create new app. Now in this create new app, you can give it like Twitter clone, some description, something. Development chain is Ethereum, and the network will be Rinkeby, because right now we are just testing it. Just do a create app. The app will be created, Twitter clone, and then you need to click on this view key. Just save this key and keep it safe. We'll be using it later in the video. Now the third we need is Hardhat. So Hardhat is a Ethereum development environment. It provides us with all the tools that we need, in order to deploy our contract, even unit test our contract and write our contract, which is a smart contract in Solidity. So we need Hardhat, and once this is done, we would actually create our smart contract, right? So we'll start with the backend because our backend should be ready, and then we will move on to our front end stuff, because front end is not going to take much time if your backend is ready, right? So let me show how the diagram will look. Let's create so this is gonna be our React UI, right? And then we have um, okay, why cannot I write it here? Okay, let me, yeah. So here we will have our ethers.js. So ethers.js is a library file that we can use. Oops, and then we can create. So React UI is gonna hit ethers.js. It will use that, and then ethers.js will basically interact with our smart contract that we deployed. So this is the Ethereum blockchain that we have, and oops, we don't need this. And we have Hardhat. So using Hardhat, we will basically interact with Ethereum, and then ether.js will interact with Ethereum blockchain, right? So this is gonna be our very high level architecture where we have Hardhat. This will be our backend development. We will deploy our smart contract on Ethereum, and then once this is done, we would go and start building React UI, and using ethers.js will interact with Ether. Now Alchemy comes somewhere in between here. So Alchemy key will be used to deploy our smart contract. That's all. Okay, so this is done. I think we are ready to create our app. Just create a new folder, Twitter clone demo, right? cd Twitter. Okay, so now this directory is empty, so we would need two things. One would be server, so mkdir server, and then we'll do cd server. Right now I'm gonna actually initialize my directory with npm because we need some node dependencies. Yeah, package name, yeah, let's keep everything as it is. Okay, now we would need to install some dependencies. I'll just copy paste that part, and I'll go over what each and every dependency is. So ethers is gonna be used to interact with Ethereum blockchain. Hardhat is our development environment. Another Hardhat waffle, Ethereum waffle are like, and Hardhat ethers are like dependencies that we need. Chai, this is for our unit test. Contracts, this is to write contracts, and .env is to import our environment variables. So as I said, we had created Alchemy account, right? And we got our API key. So we'll be using that, and we'll be storing it in our environment variable, and we'll be fetching it in our application using .env. Correct. Now once you do that, let it install. Once this installation is done, let me increase the screen size so that you guys can see. Once this is installed, in the meantime, let me go ahead and open our project. So so this is gonna be our project. Okay, file, edit view, increase font size. Okay, let's increase it a little bit more. Okay, yeah, so I guess, yeah, it's still installing. So we don't have anything in our server folder yet. We'll actually be initializing it with npx hardhat once the hardhat dependency is installed. Okay, it's almost done. Okay, so this is done. Now I can just initialize Hardhat. So this will create a basic sample project. So this will give us some boilerplate files and folders. I'll go over it. Um, okay, so basically it creates these folders. So contract folder is where our contract will be written. It gives us a default contract, this greeter contract, which is a very basic contract. We can actually make use it as a reference. We get scripts folder where we will actually write a deploy script, because once our smart contract is ready, we would need to deploy that. And this test folder will contain our unit test, right? So we'll write our unit test for our smart contract, because I personally like to write unit test. It basically tests everything, all the methods you can test whether it's working or not, and it gives you an additional confidence that when you deploy it, everything will be fine. Correct. Now, before moving forward, I will actually create few more things. So I will create a .env file here, as I said. Let me create it first because we can get it out of our way. So here, alchemy rinkb url, right? So here this url will have the value which you got it from, wait, yeah, you got it from here, view key, right? So this value will copy paste here, and the other value we need is your account private key. So because you will be deploying the contract, you are gonna be the owner of that contract, so you will need to pay some gas fees when the contract is deployed to Ethereum blockchain. So the way you can get your this account thing is you go here, you go to account details, and you do export your private key. So this is gonna export your private key, and you can just paste it here. Now I'm gonna move my screen so that I can copy my values. I don't want to share um, right now because someone else can access the Ethereums that I have, right? So it's not safe, so don't share it with anyone. That's why we have that file. Okay, so now that file is created, the next step we need is Hardhat config. So what happens is, once our smart contract is ready and once our deploy script is ready, it takes some settings from these files, right? So these files actually have some values. Now I'm just gonna make changes. Everything else stays here as it is. um, we just need to make small changes, so I will import the .env dependency that we have, and here I would write the networks. So in our case it's gonna be rinkb network, right? So I'm gonna copy that here and I'll go over it, what it means, right? So we need to tell them that the network is going to be rinkb, the url, alchemy url that we specify here in order to interact with the Ethereum blockchain is the one which we created, and the accounts is gonna be the value that we just now got from our MetaMask. That's done. We can just close this file and you don't need to worry about it again. Now the next part, what we'll be doing here is we'll be starting with our contract, right? So let's start with our contract. Create a new file. Solidity. Okay, so this is gonna be our contract. We always start with pragma. We give the version number, right? And then we give the contract. Okay, cool. Now, before moving forward in our contract, let's go over Twitter and see what all things we need. So we will need to save our username in our case because we'll be using MetaMask, right? So we get this um, our address. This is gonna be our wallet address, right? So we need to store this address because this uniquely identifies that it's your tweet, right? We don't care about your username in Twitter. Obviously you have unique username, but in our case, it will be our unique wallet address. So that is one thing that we need to save. Another thing is, right now we won't go into too much complex things, like let's avoid storing any media. We'll just store the Twitter text. Also in Twitter, we also allow functionality to delete the tweet, right? So we need a field to tell that okay, whether this tweet was deleted or not. On Ethereum, it doesn't work like databases. On database, when you want to delete something, you actually go ahead and remove that value. On Ethereum blockchain, it doesn't work like that. Anything written on the blockchain stays there. It's just the some value we can use to either show it or don't display it, right? So username is one thing, string, Twitter text, boolean, whether it's deleted or not, and obviously unique ID that we have, that we can store as a global variable on our um, this thing, contract. So I create a tweet. Now I won't go too much detail into Solidity. I have a course on Solidity, where I briefly touch on Solidity. It's not exactly a course on Solidity, it's on decentralized application, but I do touch on Solidity. I will share the link below. If you guys need some free discount coupons or for that course, do DM me. But yeah, for now, let's go ahead and go with our contract development. So this is our structure. So structure is like a class in any other language, and then it has 4 fields in our case. Now I am gonna use another data structure to privately store my tweets, and also I will be mapping of tweet ID to the wallet address of the user. It basically helps me in checking which Twitter ID was owned by which person. Correct. Tweet to owner. Right. Now let's go ahead with our method where we'll be adding a tweet, right? So method to be called by our front end when trying to add a new tweet, right? So we'll have a function add tweet So this is our function where we'll be adding a tweet. I'll create a unique ID using whatever is the length of our data structure. Message is a global keyword, so whoever basically calls this method, we have their wallet address. It will be more clear once I have the front end in place, right? And then I will also store it in my map, tweet ID, so it will map to our sender message, and then we are gonna emit our event. So this event basically tells that add a new block in our blockchain with these data. So we want our data to be as minimal as possible. I will send a pair of event here, a pair of address to id. So these two pairs will uniquely identify our block. So address tweet id. Okay, so we have our event ready. Now let's go ahead and add two more methods. So there are two things we need to add. One is we need to get all the tweets that have been tweeted till now, and then we need to get all the tweets that I have tweeted, right? So let's do that. Correct. So I will create a new variable. So this variable I'll use to only fetch all those tweets that are not deleted. So I need to know all the tweets that are there that I want to, you know, show to the user. So I'm gonna do a quick check. Tweets I dot is deleted equals to false. If it's equals to false, then I add it to my temporary counter. I increment the counter also every time I do that. So now in my temporary and with the counter value, I know that okay, these many tweets are only valid. For example, I have 5 tweets, but out of that 2 were deleted, so I just want to show the 3, right? So that's the reason I have it here. So new tweet counter. Okay, so this way I got all the tweets. Now there is another method that I said I need a method to get only my tweets, right? So for that I will do get my tweets external view returns tweet memory. Okay, so in this case it returns a array, but I would do something similar. So let me copy paste this whole thing because the logic is same with a small modification, and I'll show you what that modification is. So that modification is gonna be when we do a tweets tweet to owner, you remember we have a map, right? So we have a map. If that is equal to message dot sender, it these two conditions needs to be true. So tweet to owner, this map, that id should belong, that tweet id should belong to the sender who is asking for the tweet, and if it belongs to that person, then only will return it, right? And then we have method to delete tweet, because we would need to delete the tweet. So a delete is a write function. So any write function that we have is gonna take up some Ethereum from the user. Any read is actually free, because for every write we need to create a new block on blockchain, and that's why it takes up the Ethereum from your account. now here also I will create an event, so I will send an event with the tweet id and is deleted flag. Let me check, I might have made some errors here and there. Okay, yeah, so and also I'm checking that we can only delete those tweets which are owned by me. I actually cannot delete any other tweet, right? So this is done. I would need to create an event for this as well. Event uh, excuse me. So okay, so we have the contract ready. Now there are two more things that I need to do. One would be I'll be creating my deploy script. So my deploy script will basically tell that okay, get this contract and deploy it on um, the Ethereum blockchain, right? So I think my system has hanged. Okay, so this is gonna be deploy.js. Right now here I will have my const main. It's gonna be an async because deploying to Ethereum might take some time. Const contract factory. So this is how and where we'll be using ethers to get our contract. Okay, so here basically ethers, I'm telling ethers to basically fetch any Solidity file. So it will basically go to this contract folders and it will get whatever the contract name is. So you remember we have given this name, so this is important. So it gets this and then it's gonna deploy. So we do this contract dot deploy, right? So it's gonna deploy, yeah. So these are the steps that we do. Also remember to console.log contract deployed to let's display the address because we'll be using that address on our front end. As there are methods, like if you check our contract, we have some methods that we'll be using. So in order to use those methods, we need to know where the contract lives, and that contract and everything on the Ethereum blockchain, we basically access using addresses. Every address is unique, and only using addresses you can find where something is. So that's why displaying this contract is very important for us. Now here we do an await on main because main is going to be an async function. Process dot exit 0. Once this is done, catch any error if we get while deployment. Console.log that error and then exit 1, right? And then we'll just call our method run main, right? So our deploy script is also ready. Now before I do a deploy, I am actually gonna write a small unit test for our contract, whatever we have written. I don't know, for some reason let me close this off. Okay, this can stay. I can get rid of Twitter also. Okay, new file, Twitter contract test.js. Okay, so this is gonna be our contract file. I'm gonna import some dependencies because we need Hardhat and chai. Now the way we do is we write a describe group. So this is our test name, right? Twitter contract. This will be our main test method where all the other tests lie. I'm gonna take some variables and we'll see how we use them. Now let owner, also I'm gonna take some constants. So constants being let's say total, not number of not my tweets, right? So basically these tweets don't belong to me. My tweets, that will be 3. So in total the number is going to be 8. Okay, now before each is gonna tell that, okay, before each unit test, just go ahead and do this thing, and it's gonna do all of that. So let me quickly get, and I'll tell and go over what it does. So here we are actually telling them to get this contract. Again, it will get that contract. It's gonna take, and this value, it's gonna take some signers for the contract. And for our testing, because we need to test with more than one user, it gives us some addresses. So owner will be the address who deploys the contract, and these other two addresses will be the extra addresses that we need, the people who have actually signed up with Twitter, you can think like that. And once we deploy that, everything is done once, and then we initialize our total tweets and total my tweets, right? And then I'm actually gonna copy paste this part. So what we are doing here is, you remember I have taken this constant not my tweet. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna create a dummy tweet, and 5 of those dummy tweets basically will be added for this address. So let's say owner address is 1 and address, other person's address is 2. So the person address 2 is gonna tweet all of these. So remember, if you go to contract, in add tweet we have message.sender, which automatically gets fetched. So this is what we define, and that's gonna take this address, and then we push it to the tweet. Similarly, we would do the same for our total my tweets. So these all will be my tweets, right? So before each is what it's actually doing, it's actually taking the contract, it deploys the contract, and then it adds some dummy text tweets for us, right? Now my first test, I'm gonna actually start with, like, let's test our add tweet method. Should emit add tweet, oops, because we saw that in our contract, if we go back, when the add tweet is completed, we basically send the event, and this event basically goes ahead and stores everything on the blockchain, right? So I'm just giving it any value for now. Is deleted will be false, right? And then we do an await, expect await Twitter dot, sorry, that's not the object, this is the object, Twitter dot add tweet, tweet dot tweet text. Okay, once this is done, we do a to emit. So basically what this test is doing, that once we do an await, like once we added the text, let's expect whether an emit or any event has been emitted or not. So we do that here. And because, as I said, that we run before every unit test, right? So this method will get executed before we call this unit test, right? So we already have 8 tweets in our blockchain. So that means automatically the ID of this new tweet is gonna be addition of number of my tweets and not my tweets, right? And then it's gonna emit that, because if you go back to the contract and you see the add tweet is basically sending the address and the tweet ID. So here we need to check that an event was emitted with these arguments, right? So with this yes, with this this thing is completed. So our add tweet is done. Now we need to do for getting the tweets, right? So get all should return the correct number of total tweets. Okay, so now here what we do is tweets from chain await twitter dot get all tweets, expect okay. So here what I am doing actually is I get all the tweets, right? Because before each function has already been executed, we will have total 8 tweets in our blockchain, and we need to check that, okay, are we getting those values or not. Now this is for expecting that it should return the total tweets. In our case we also need to check whether what is the number of our tweets, right? So you see we had given total wait, let me expand this. Yeah, total my tweets were 3, so we should get 3 as the answer. Number of all my tweets, it's gonna be an async function, constant tweets from chain get my tweets. Basically I'm using this methods that I've already written for our contract, smart contract. So we have 4 methods and I'm gonna unit test all those 4s, right? My tweets, okay, why it's not coming? It should be my, oops, my tweets from chain dot length dot to dot equal, it should be equal to number of my tweets, right? So with this we have tested 3 methods. Now there is only one method left, that is the delete one. So let's do that quickly as well, and then we will be confident that our delete tweet or our contract is basically ready to be deployed. Okay, so I do an await expect remember that I'm trying to delete tweet from the first person because when I was inserting the first tweet at the in ID 0, it was the user 1, right? So only that person can delete it because if I try to delete it, this condition will fail and our unit test will fail. So we don't want that. So to emit. Correct. So basically, I am trying to delete the ID 0 and I'm gonna call this method with these two arguments. So I would expect an event that will get emitted with these two fields, right? So I think our this thing is ready. So I'll just do a recap. So we have written our contract, I have written a deploy script, and then we have our unit test, right? So before we do a deploy, um, let's do an ls. I would run my unit test. The way we do it is using this command. It starts and fetches. Okay, so it's giving us some error here. Oopsie. Okay. So see, we are easily able to find. I think more errors will come up for sure. I'm not confident it's gonna work fine. Describe is not defined. Oh, okay. Warning okay. So describe describe. Okay, we might see a couple more errors for sure. Oh, it started working. Okay, so it did pass all the tests. The reason why there are 5 tests because there is another file with the sample test. Let's remove all of these. We don't need any of these. Correct. Let's go ahead. Okay, let's run the command again, and this time all the 4 tests should pass. Okay, so you can see the Twitter contract. Under Twitter contract we have add tweet, and then we have one unit test, and then we have get all tweets, and then we have all the tests. Actually it should be not get all get tweets because we are testing my tweets and the total number of them, right? So that makes sense, and then we do a delete tweet also. So I guess our backend is ready. Our contract looks nice, right, and ready to go. In order to actually deploy our smart contract, there is this method that we need to run. So we'll do an hard hat, and then run, and then we need to specify where our script is. So if you remember, it's under scripts folder deploy.js, and then we give a argument network, and then renk ring p. Yeah, okay, so fingers crossed. Let's see if it gets deployed. So once it gets deployed, it's gonna console.log this address where the contract was deployed. Okay, awesome. So it was successful. Now what I do with all the Ethereum ring B. So what I do here is I actually go to this Etherscan. I go and paste my address, and then oh, I guess this is not the right one. Ring B Etherscan. Let's see. No, we don't need that. We need so our contract address looks right, correct. Then why it doesn't work? Okay. I guess this was the one. Let's go here again. It maybe takes some time. Okay, awesome. So you see here on Etherscan, let me zoom in. So we see a transaction hash was created. As we know in blockchain, we create a hash from, and this is my address. So if you see 5817, it ends with that 5817. So this is my address because I am the owner right now who deployed it. And then it tells me how much it costed me to deploy this contract. Now any kind of transaction that happens using this contract, we can see all of it here. And then that part will be clear once we start with our front end part, right? So our contract is done. Just copy paste, or just, I think if you have this open, that's fine, but keep this address somewhere safe. Now we can close all of these. Our majority of the work has been done. We can actually go to cd. Let's create our client folder, right? We'll do a cd client. Now we're gonna create a react application, right? So oh, actually it's better to okay, let's run the command from here, create react app, right, and then we can give it as client. So it's gonna take some time, right? It will install some dependencies, and once it does, we can actually start with our coding part, right? I might be copy pasting some of the css because I'm not good with front end. So I took help from internet, and I still have that because it looks good. I don't understand much of that part, but that's why I'll be copy pasting it. So I expect it's pretty straightforward. I can quickly do a glance walkthrough, but I'm not good at it. That's what. So yeah, and let's see. So okay, so it's, I think it's almost done. So yeah, so if we go to Twitter, let's discuss some front end stuff before that. So here we see there are, we can do again, as I like to do, I do a divide and conquer thing. So we basically have a left panel, a middle panel, and the right panel. The left panel we can call it as a sidebar, the middle panel which is our feed, and this panel we can actually call it as maybe events or something like that, because and I can just show what all events I have been doing, right? There is actually an npm Twitter package which comes in handy, so we can use that. Let's go into the client, and if we do npm start, as it says, it will start our server. It says no. Okay, let me kill the service that's running there. What is it? This is our kill 057. Okay, now let's do an npm start. It's gonna start running on this local server. If we go to localhost 3000, right, awesome. So this is actually a dummy application. Let's close this. There is one thing we need to do. So in order to interact with our contract when we deploy, right? So if you have worked with REST APIs, how the REST API works is, you have a backend service running, you have some endpoints with you, you hit them with either get or post request. Similarly, when we deploy our smart contract, we actually get this ABI file, which gets created automatically. So we actually gonna use this. It actually has all the metadata. let's see, for example, it has this add tweet method. That's our endpoint. Think of it as an endpoint. Now what all inputs it takes? So it's going to take two inputs. One would be the text and another one would be our oh, this is it's here actually. Add tweet, yeah, this is the one. It takes text and it's gonna take is deleted field, right? And we do an add tweet. These were the events, actually the type was event. So this is just, it just changes it in a simpler format, changes the Solidity file into this format. So we are actually gonna copy this file and move it to our client thing. So I'm gonna create a new folder called utils, and then I'm gonna paste there because I'll be referencing this file from there on. Now technically our server part is done, like we are done with our server part, right? So we can close all of our server files, correct? Now let's start with our app.js, right? This is gonna be our main go-to landing page. So I'll first basically do some initial stuff. So one thing we need to do here is, before the person interacts with this whole app, we actually are gonna check whether the person has MetaMask installed and whether the person is logged in. Also we are gonna check whether the person is on the Rinkeby test network, right? So we are gonna test all these three things. So let's go ahead with that. Let's see, I'm gonna use an import, sorry, let's remove this logo part, and then I'm gonna remove all of these, right? We only need div class app, yeah, okay, correct. Okay, so it won't have anything, cool. We are gonna use import I might code quickly the React part, because it will be pretty straightforward. So we need all the use state and use effect methods, right? And then I'm gonna have some fields, current account set. So this is gonna store our account address, you can say. Use correct network. So this is gonna store whether we are connected to the correct network or not, which is in our case will be Rinkeby network. Now we'll create a method. This is gonna call meta mask to connect wallet on clicking connect wallet button. So we'll display a small button if the person is logged out of MetaMask. We're gonna show them a button saying, hey, connect to MetaMask before you can visualize our app, because for each tweet operation we would need some Ethereum from your wallet, right? So this is how we fetch the Ethereum from our window, right? So if we check if Ethereum is not there, we just do a console.log meta mask not detected, return, right? So if it does, then we are gonna do check whether the chain ID. So this is gonna check whether we are connected to the Rinkeby network or not, right? So good part is all these networks basically have a chain ID, and then let me print this also, connected to chain Cool. So in this case, it will be so ring B chain network basically has starting as 0x4. It's like a hex number, I guess. So if the chain ID that we get is not equal to ring B chain ID, then we show an alert method saying you are not connected to the ring B test net, right? And then we do a return because we don't show anything. If not, we then fetch the accounts, we do an await, correct, and then we do a set current account metamask. Okay, so this method is done. Now we need to also have another method just for checking that um, that we are connected to the correct network, like just to save that part, or else we can actually use this one if it's not. So here only we can do set correct network. It should be false, and then else set correct network should be true, right? So this flag we can show to display some data. Now I'll be using use effect. So use effect is something like, in simpler words I can say, it's anything that gets called before the component, or when the component did mount, like when the component just got displayed and this is the first thing it needs to call. So that's my understanding about use effect. I might be wrong, but for now let's go with that understanding, right? And then I will just copy paste this return method that I have, and we can see what I'm talking about in a bit, right? Obviously we'll see some errors here because we don't have sidebar, widgets, feed, all those files with us. But what I'm trying to do here is I check whether the current account is empty or not. If it's not empty, then we just check the correct network and everything is fine, then we show the feed, the sidebar, feed, widget, everything. If one of these things is missing, then we show an alert or some error, right? Cool. Now that our client is ready, let's move ahead. One more thing we need to do here is that utils is there. We need to create a file for config.js. So what this config.js will store, it will basically store export const Twitter contract. Okay, so it's gonna store our address, contract address. Let's copy this, and then done. Like, this is just for importing our addresses, right? Move to app.css, and then I have some CSS settings with me. Don't worry, all the code I have pushed to GitHub already, so you guys can access it. Like, it's just a simple React and CSS stuff, so won't be an issue. Another thing here, now I would need to create few things, right? I would need a sidebar. As I said, we need sidebar, feed, and we can call this as widgets. So let me import that. Okay, we have widgets and we have importing that. Okay, I think everything else is done, so let's create our files so that at least we don't get this error and we can get rid of it. So new file, sidebar.js, new file, feed.js, and then new file, widgets.js. Correct. Okay, so these files are created. Now I'll quickly create a function. So import react from react. Once this is done, function widgets, right? And then we just do an export default chain ID is not defined, is assigned but never used. Chain ID is not defined. Oh, okay. Chain ID is not defined. Line 23, 27. Okay, let's fix that. 23, 27, 23 chain ID, and then 27 is CHI. Okay, so these two errors are gone. Okay, it's gone. Okay, we see the files here. Yeah, widgets is created. Let's copy paste this thing. Let's create a sidebar. Let's create a feed. Okay, then we have sidebar. Cool. We'll start with sidebar first. Let me copy paste and create a sidebar.css. Because okay, sidebar.css. Yeah, you can actually go to GitHub and see what the settings are. I'm not gonna go into detail about that because we have some logic to cover, right? Okay, we missed one thing here. Let me stop my client. We actually need to import some of our dependencies, right? So we actually need npm install axios and ethers. Those are important, right? And then there is one cool library that I came across that is called avatars. That avatars is for creating profile image. So right now I'm not storing profile images anywhere, so I'm gonna create profile images on the fly. Correct. And then I also want to install some of the material UI. So material UI will provide you with a lot of nice icons that we need on our sidebar thing. So let's quickly copy paste all of these. So these are just some icons that we'll be using on the sidebar. So these are the sidebar. Let's say home, explore, notifications, messages, bookmarks, lists, profile, and more. So sorry, so that's all I already have imported. Now once I have imported, in my return I basically will have mentioned it here. Okay, so let's try to just refresh it and see if we see anything here. Oops, our app is not running right now. Npm run, npm start. So once this starts, no, okay, I want to always run it. Okay, so once our app starts, oh, it didn't kill. Okay, yeah, let's start it on some other. Uh, so it will start on 3000 is fine. It will start on 3001. I doubt we should get any error, but let's see. Okay, we got some errors. Can't resolve material UI Twitter material UI. Okay, it was not able to resolve material UI Twitter material UI icons Twitter material UI core material UI. Oh, so I guess I need to import one more material UI icons, I guess. Yeah, that is one more library that I needed to do npm. Once that is done, okay, so sorry, I had the internet issue. So I guess now let me see. Okay, I have some processes running kill -966920. Okay, so I don't have anything now running on. Just a sec. So now that I have everything, let's run this and see whether it works fine or not. Okay, so it's running on 3000. Let's inspect and see if we see any errors here. It's still running. Oh, okay, sidebar option. Yeah, so I guess I have sidebar option as my this thing, so I would need to create some more files, I'm guessing. Okay, I don't know why it's getting hanged. This editor is bad. I need to change my editor, or maybe it's my computer that's hanging. Okay, so we create here sidebar option.js, and that's where we just have a small sidebar thing. It's just for displaying our stuff, and then we also need to create sidebar option.css. Correct. So once we create that, let me copy paste it. Okay, we didn't see anything appearing yet. React is defined. Okay. Oh, the feed and the widgets components are broken right now. Let's do this in order to visualize it. Let me go ahead and comment this out. Do we see anything now? Okay, now we are only getting error in widgets, so let's fix that. Awesome. So we see that's fine. That's fine. We see all the settings and we see the sidebar working here, which is good. This is good. This is looks good. Now we just need to go ahead with, let's go with our widgets thing. So in the widgets, it's gonna be very straightforward. I will have to create one widgets.css file. Okay, I guess this might be the last file. No, there are a couple of more files, but that's fine. New file. Widgets.js. Okay. Now in this, we do an import. And then we also need to actually import, let me actually stop this process. We need to do an npm install on react Twitter embed. So this basically provides us a lot of easy functionality. So the widgets functionality that we see here is provided by this package. We can actually just plug in and it will show up everything that is happening, right? So we will be using that. Import Twitter timeline embed Twitter share button Twitter tweet embed, right from react Twitter embed. And also we'll have a search icon. So here we have some small search, so we'll try to replicate that as well in our app. Let's close this. Okay, import. Okay, search icon from widgets. Okay, cool. Now we have created our widgets. Let's use our css files. So okay, so here we'll have one widget for search icon, class name, cool. I think after this we should have that. Let me actually go ahead and uncomment this and let me run this. Okay, the process was cancelled. I hope it works fine with no errors. Let's see. Okay, it worked. So we have this search bar. Don't worry about this, it will actually be using flex, so it will automatically move when I have something in my feed, you can say component. So right now we have div. Right, here I have what's happening. Twitter timeline embed, and this, as we saw, we are actually getting this from this package, right? So this package, we actually don't need this one. Okay, so we are actually getting this from this package. So we actually can have source type profile screen name. So it's gonna, for now, this is my Twitter ID, right? So it's gonna take everything that I have been tweeting or sharing, right? So it's gonna create a feed like that, and then we have a share button as well. um, or that's fine, I think this should be fine. Let's remove this also. Okay, so we see what's happening. Right now we don't see anything happening. Why? Oh, okay, awesome. It did take some time. So all of these data was tweeted by me, so it keeps on fetching and it can load more. So it's pretty nice React component that we have. So our widgets is done. Let me get rid of all the components that are done. Now comes the main part, the feed. So in the feed only, we will be doing our get of all the tweets. Will be showing, how this Twitter has, you can have add something here and then tweet. So it will be basically adding a tweet, and then on the feed, the tweets that are owned by us, we can actually delete those tweets, right? So everything will go in there, right? So I will actually start the other way. So I will start with new file, the Twitter box, or let me start with, actually let me start with the feed. Correct. So right now let me go ahead and first copy paste everything to my feed.js, or sorry, css, as that will be. Okay, now let's go to our feed.js. We'll import from feed.css, right? We'll also try to install one more dependency, which is install react flip move. You can read more about it here, react flip move npm. So what it does, it basically animates the list of this transitions, so you can see how it gives us a nice effect. So it's just an additional thing, not a requirement, but let's go ahead and add that. I guess after this, for sure, everything is done. So we will be importing a bunch of stuff. Let me actually get all the imports here itself, right? So basically we'll do some differentiations or maybe dissections. So in this feed we see one is a Twitter box, so this is going to be a Twitter box, and then these are our posts, right? So feed will basically have two components. One is post, right, which we have here, in one tweet box. So I'm going to quickly create those files here, and then post.js, and we need to create the css file as well, tweet box.css, and then I have post.css. Correct. Let's go to feed.js now. Right now here I will basically add few things to my return method first. So these are just some css settings. We already have imported them. We just need to use them here. Correct. And then we have a tweet box, and then we have our flip move, component. In that component we basically will be having our posts dot map. So this will be our variable. I will create that. So basically it will store an array of all the posts that we will get from our blockchain, right? So that's the magic that we are gonna see soon. And then post will basically have key. All the React component needs a key, so the ID will be our unique key. Display name, right now I'll just display our username, which will be our address, the Ethereum address or wallet address, you can say. Tweet text personal post dot personal. So this personal field is gonna tell us whether this post belongs to me, and if it belongs to me, it will activate delete tweet, you can say delete tweet method for me, because only I can delete my post, right? So that is the main functionality. So once this is done, we actually are gonna create a local variable posts, and we do set posts use state, so it will be an empty array. Now in order to, what do you say, populate this post variable, we need some way to get all the values. So what we can do here is we'll use effect. As I said, use effect is like initially called, and then so we can actually call our method get all tweets. Inside this, it's going to be an asynchronous method, and it's going to fetch all the tweets that we have, right? So let's do that. We have const get all tweets. Correct. Let's try, and then I will have const Ethereum. Remember this part, we know Ethereum is exists because initially we are checking whether the MetaMask is connected or not, right? So this is how we get the provider, and then we get the signer, which is like the person validation who signed the contract. So we get signer. Here we do constant Twitter contract. So we get the contract here because in order to hit the API, like API meaning the methods that are there in the contract, we need and then if you remember, we are importing the contract address where the contract was deployed. And this ABI thing is basically we are fetching it for, if you remember, we have our contract JSON in the utils. So this is the ABI field. So ABI field is like the API that tells that okay, go ahead, and then the signer, right? Once this is done, we actually have get all the tweets. So to get all tweets, let's await for it because it will be an asynchronous what do you say, it will be an asynchronous process. Now here we'll set posts. Now there is one more thing we need to do. If you remember, there is a field called personal, right? So we need a way to know that which posts are mine. So what we can do, when we get all the tweets, we have our block address with us, like this is mine address, like wallet address. So I can just loop through all the tweets, and then I can check which one of them or which one of the addresses matches with mine, and then I just set this right. So I will create another method for this, so that it's easier to understand it. So I will be like, create one get updated tweets. I will send all tweets and the address to it. So this address will be my wallet address. Correct. So the reason I am converting it to lowercase, because when I am saving them on the blockchain, it's basically like, if you see, this is the account, right, found. If you see, the it's alphanumeric. So in alphanumeric, it takes capitalization. So we don't care because capitalization and being lowercase, it works fine. But in JavaScript, it's case sensitive, right? So just because it works, I'm just converting it into lowercase for all of them. This is just the value I'm taking, and then I'm storing the personal, because the personal will be true in our case, right? And then I just append it with to our global, or you can say the local variable that we have here. Now if it's not, if it doesn't matches, then just copy paste all of these and make this value as false, right? And then after that, just return. Okay, so it does that updated tweet, so it returns that. Now once it returns that, when we set it, we actually call this method all tweets comma Ethereum. The way we get address is Ethereum selected, correct, and then we do here else. So we console.log Ethereum object doesn't exist, right? And then we also catch the error, which would be console.log error, correct. So this is the way we get all the tweets, right? Also let's complete our delete tweet method. So in delete tweet, what we are gonna do, so we'll just copy everything we had in get all tweets and just replace this with delete tweet, right? And then we are done. One more thing we need to pass is we need to pass the post id, which I'm already passing it. So we'll pass it as an argument. Delete key, I will pass it as an argument. Correct, we have the key. Now I can just copy paste all of these. Yeah. Okay. And here I will just do after this. So what I'll do here is I'll delete the tweet. I will, after that I'll get all the tweets back, because once I've deleted it I need to get it back, and then I set it again, right? We need to set all the tweets back. So this is done. It's again complaining. Let's see which services. Okay, 446. Okay, awesome. Now it should work. Anyways, it will give us the error because our post and our tweet box are empty, so we need to get with that. I think the next one which we'll do is the post one. So in the post.js, we need to create some stuff. Let's go to post.js, constant post, and we'll create forward. Do we even need the reference? We might need the reference. And if you remember, in the feed.js we are passing some values to the post, right? These are used as props, or you can say the passed as props. So don't worry about the error, we will get a lot of errors. We are getting here as use effect unexpected token. Okay, I think I need to import use effect is imported. Use effect. Is this the way we use effect? Yeah, it looks good. It looks right to me. Okay, get tweets, and then anyways it won't work because our post method is not ready. So let's fix that. Here we'll have display name text personal on click. So the on click will work when we actually want to delete a tweet, right? So that's what is important. And then we return correct, and then we do an export. Okay, so this post thing is created. Now we need to display it, so I'll just do a copy paste. It's pretty straightforward. So what I do here is yeah, before that I actually need to import all of these. Correct. Basically I display the display name, the text, and then I display all the buttons. So I display this text. I display the avatar first. I display the address here, display the tweet text, and then I display these 4 icons. In my case I will have one more icon which is for the delete button, so that is there. And the avatar thing, the generate avatar thing, that's what is the most creative thing here. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm actually gonna create a file which is gonna contain some fields. So I will show you this package, npm avatars, right? So this package basically creates svg based randomized avatars, and it looks good. So just to add some fun factor, I thought of creating it. So avatar.js. Once we have that, just copy paste this. It's pretty straightforward. What it does is we have top type, we have facial hair, facial color, cloth type. So it randomly basically mix and matches everything. It randomly creates that, and then we have been importing that through this. So once that is done, it works. We still get error 52 and 78. Okay, so feed.js was done, tweetbox.js. I guess it's complaining for the 52 singer. Oh, I think I made a spelling mistake. I guess 52. Which line? Line 52 is. Correct. Oopsie. Yeah, it won't work because our tweet box is empty right now. So we need to add things to tweet box as well. So tweet box. Let's go to that. Okay. Yeah. So in this case also, I will import all the dependency that we need, and then we need function tweet box, and then in this case you need return. Don't worry, I'll show the complex stuff. I'll code that complex stuff because this is just a return button. I'm not doing anything right now. Export default tweet box. Cool. Yeah, but that is not defined. Oh, I think I need to install this also. Yes. Yeah, so once that is installed, I think everything else is ready for us. Okay, let's start it. It might fail because we haven't added our methods yet. But yeah, so what this basically does is, yeah, it fails. That's fine because we need to add all these fields. So what we are doing here is we actually have a text box. So we have the avatar next to us, we have an empty tweet text box, we have an place for image. We actually can get rid of these. We don't need that image thing, and then the button to tweet the button, right? I'm gonna create some variables. Const tweet message set. Correct. So let's save this and run it. Send tweet is not defined. Okay, so let's define our method send tweet as well. So our send correct. this should be a async method. Async method, yeah, and then we do an, yeah, for now I think we can set tweet message to empty after we have already said, yeah, that's all. Let's run this and see. Okay, awesome. So currently, yeah, we don't have any settings here, and then we just type everything here. Once these two things are done, then we start seeing the feed. Right now the feed is empty because no one has tweeted anything, right? So yeah, that's what we need to do. So also we need to add use effect. So use effect is gonna add some generic avatars to our profile. Oops. Yeah, correct. Awesome. So we can start typing something here. Cool. Now comes the part which is the most interesting part, which is our add tweet. So we have it here. Add tweet, and then our add tweet is gonna be an async method. So okay, I don't know why this button is like this, but it shouldn't be like this. Yeah. Tweetbox.css, I guess. Oh, I didn't added anything to this. Okay, so let's add that. Okay, awesome. So it looks good now. So what we need to do here is, for that, so the tweet, that will create a tweet object which will be like tweet text, because if you remember, our method, tweet method, takes two arguments, right? If you go back to our Solidity contract, so it needs one this and is deleted false. So it takes these two values. Now we can actually fetch all these data that we had here from here, because we'll be using something similar for adding it. We just gonna change, we don't need this to add tweet tx. Correct. So this is done. Okay, what are we getting error on? Twitter dx. Okay, so once this is done, I think we are now ready. Let's demo this. So let's type this. This is my first tweet. If I click on this, it will basically open up a MetaMask notification, which will ask us that, okay, it's gonna cost this much Ethereum. Do you want to confirm? Before that, also just refresh this and see, we only have created our contract till now. So once we, okay, the screen is gone. Okay, it's here. So once I confirm, okay, it's why it's taking time. It's confirmed. Let's go back here. Okay, it's pending. It takes some time. Once this is done, we can go to our the Ethereum ring B Etherscan, which shows up all the, you can say, stats or all the transactions that have taken place. It's taking too much time. I don't know why. Contract interaction pending. Failed. Okay, so contract interaction failed. Okay, let's try again. Let's try it again. This is my first contract, and let's also inspect element if we saw any errors. Do we see any errors? It's all warning, 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 warning. Okay. Let's tweet MetaMask notification. Fingers crossed. Confirmed. Okay. Oh yeah. So I think it went ahead. So this one should work. Let's see. So it's pending, pending, pending. Okay. So this was successful. If you see, it's green, so it was successful. I'm hoping we should see the interaction here. Okay. So we saw this is fine because this was a failure, but this is the interaction that went through. I think if I refresh my page, we should expect something here. Oh, okay. So I guess the first one also went ahead. It showed a failure, but it went ahead. So you see, we see all the things here. There is something off. Okay, so I think the post or css is empty. Yeah. Let me fill this up quickly. Let's remove this. So this should basically, now it's fine. So you see, this is my address. Because I own this tweet, I basically get to see. Let me do a full screen. Okay, so because this is my address, I see this delete button. So once I go ahead and do a delete, it's again gonna ask me for some Ethereum here, right? And then I'm gonna do a confirm. It goes ahead. If we open this, it's pending. Let it get done. Once this goes ahead, if we refresh, okay, it was successful. I think we should see it here as well quickly. Yes, this is the delete one, which we deleted it. If I refresh this should be gone. Yeah, it's gone. Nice. Let's create one more contract. This is my last contract tweet of the day, actually. Tweet of the day. Good. Bye. Let's do a tweet. It goes to MetaMask. It charges us some Ethereum. Let's confirm it. Awesome. The contract went ahead. Let me refresh it. Okay, it worked. If I refresh this, I should see this is my last tweet of the day. Goodbye. Awesome. So cool. Finally, everything seems to work. This obviously I did rush through the React part because that was not my main motto. I wanted to actually show how you can use React and Solidity. So you can use React and blockchain to actually use blockchain and create a decentralized application. So this is basically a decentralized social media app right here, and this is what I wanted to show. I will be making more videos around this, how you can make React based decentralized application. If you guys like this video, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and follow me on Instagram. Thanks everyone.